Right, hi. I'm going to try and give you some extra help on Salat today. Excuse my pronunciations, we all know they're absolutely awful and I do apologise. Okay, so I've made this sort of graft up, which I'm taking a picture of. And the first thing we're going to look at is Salat is 5 times a day, okay? So it's done at set times. Now, strangely enough, in the summer, the set time will be longer because there's a longer time between sunrise and sunset. So it extends outwards, okay? And these times are set down. You can have phone apps that sort of alert you to when they are. And if you go to any mosque, anywhere, obviously depending on whether you're a Sunni or a Shia Muslim, the prayers will be going on at exactly the same time, okay? Now, if you miss a prayer, it's not the end of the world. You can catch up. You can, if you're late, you can just start your sort of rakahs a little bit later. Or if you're at school, you can obviously catch up when you get home from school or work, okay? Because as I've said before, Islam, why it's an obligation, it understands that you have to fit in to the country and the culture that you live in and work a way around that. If you're living in an Islamic country, it wouldn't be a problem because obviously everything will just stop at the set times. Indeed, people I know have said that people just get out of cars, people just start praying as and when. Okay, now when you pray, as you saw in those videos, there's set rakahs, there's a set process of people kneeling, bowing, and they go through the same process, the same prayer, saying the same thing, and it's very ritualistic. And this helps because it's calming, it helps a person focus on Allah and communicating with Allah. And it's just like a set surface, just as you have a set surface in Christianity, which is called liturgical. In Islam, it's liturgical surface. You know what you're going to say, you do the same thing. Everyone does the same thing, and as you're doing it all together, it promotes this idea of brotherhood, sisterhood, of the ummah, of belonging, and everybody working together, okay? So I'm just going to give you a quick scan of that on my chart just to remind you, okay? If you can see that. Okay, now, before you pray, okay, you do something called wudu or wuzu, and these are ablutions. You're washing yourself. And again, this is a set ritualistic thing to do. Now, in the PowerPoint, it says that if you're Sunni or if you're Shia, you do it slightly differently, okay? But the main thing is that you're clean and you're going to talk to Allah and you're going to be clean, you're going to be pure. It shows respect. It's also like you're cleaning away the outside world. And when you're going to pray, it's you sort of like being ready for that. It helps you get ready. It's a bit like going to school, getting ready to school. If I go to school, when I'm teaching, I do my hair, I put some makeup on. It might look dreadful, but that doesn't matter. The fact is that I am showing respect to you by preparing myself to come and speak to you. Now, when you pray, okay, first of all, there's a call to pray, which is an adhan. Again, you can get phone apps for this. It sometimes goes off in class. I've heard it. And that's sort of like in the olden days when people lived in smaller communities, and even now, somebody would go to the top of the mosque and they would call out to say, it's time to pray. Please get ready. Please get your mats out. Please get yourself focused. This is the time. Okay. Now, if you're a Muslim, you have to face the Kaaba in Mecca. Now, when I done DFE and we had students that are out in the middle of Derbyshire and they didn't have a clue where Mecca was, but they had an app on their phone which they could sort of rotate and they knew which way to pray to. Okay, so having a compass, very useful. Okay, so you do your wudu, which is like a ritualistic cleaning, and then you're ready to go. Okay, then you go into the mosque. Women normally pray separately in another room or at the back of the mosque, and in some cultures, countries, they don't go into the mosque at all. And even, I was Googling, there's now some countries have separate mosques for women to men as well. Okay, so women are obliged to pray, but they might not go to the mosque as much. Okay, and then they go through something called rakahs, which, as I said, is the bowing, the kneeling. It's like a ritualistic process where they pray. Now, I just quickly scan that for you. Okay. Now, simply, this is like the ritualistic, the liturgical, but also if you're a Muslim, you might pray to Allah just in a chatting way, just to sort of say thanks, or this is going on in my life. So after you've done the ritualistic sort of like the set prayer, you may stay for a little while and just have some quiet time reflecting and talking to Allah, you know, like as like a father figure, a mother figure, just somebody to talk to. Okay. Now, there are two schools of thought. Why do you go to a mosque to pray, or should you pray at home? And actually, you could say it just depends on the context. Generally, most Muslims, whilst going to the mosque is better, it's worth more. There's a quote there that says it's worth 27 times more. Okay, and there is an obligation that you should go to the mosque for the Jummah service, the Friday service. Okay, that actually most of the time people are working, they've got families, they might not live near a mosque, so they pray at home. So why the mosque is preferable, in most cases, people pray at home. You're not going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go to the mosque generally, unless it's maybe this time of year where it's Ramadan and you sort of want to do things properly. Okay, so the advantages of the mosque. Just going to do a quick scan. You see that? So the things we're looking at, a better environment. The mosque is set up for praying. It's got sort of the carpets, it's got the little things you can put in your head. It's sort of like got the sort of quotes from the Quran around. There's everyone together, so you get that sense of the ummah, the brotherhood, the sisterhood. Everybody doing something together is so much more powerful. It's calmer. It's easier to do your ritualistic cleaning, your ablutions, because you've got everything set up for that. Okay, and it's sort of an obligation. So there's a lot of arguments for doing it at the mosque, okay? Just as if you're Christian, you would go to church on Sunday, and that's sort of an obligation. It's exactly the same thing. Yes, you might pray during the week, but actually the Jummah, the sort of Friday service, is the same as the Sunday service in Christianity, when you're expected to make the effort to get there. Okay, now versus this you have, why do you pray at home? I'm just going to quickly scan that down. These are just some thoughts that I came up with. As you can see, I've got some question marks where I Googled it and there was different answers. So the first thing is that Muhammad basically said that women don't have such an obligation to go to the mosque. He actually released them from that obligation. Now, I put a big question mark next to that, because when I Googled that, it's something that I learned, but when I Googled it, it was like different answers. But basically what was said is that women have young children, and even in today's society where women are very treated, do work and things like that, women generally still have the main sort of focus on childcare. Okay, so women have to look after the children, so they don't generally have to go to the mosque on Friday, because it might be difficult. They've got a young baby, they've got to pick the kids up from school, you know, one of the kids is having a tantrum, meltdown. It's just hard. So what Muhammad said is, if you want to go to mosque, fantastic, but if you can't, it's not going to count against you. Now, in some cultures, women aren't actually allowed to go to the mosque. Now, this is nothing to do with Islam, it's cultural, okay? However, if a woman's not allowed to go to the mosque, then she's not going to go to the mosque, is she? So in that way, she will be praying at home if she wants to fulfill her obligations. Now, the other thing is Yes, the mosque is important, but there's a great focus on the Islamic home being spiritual, being a place to teach the children how to follow the Islamic faith. And actually, you should pray at home. You should fill your home with spirituality. It helps the children learn the routines and rituals of prayer when they're very, very young, and that might be difficult at the mosque to do it all the time. As long as you've got the home set up properly, it's easy to do the wudu, as long as the place where you're doing it is clean, okay? The husband will normally lead the prayer, so that sort of like helps with the family unit, and also it takes away the worry. It means the grown-ups can pray without worrying about whether their baby's going to be okay, the young children are going to be okay. It lets them focus on what they're meant to be doing, which is praying. Okay. In there, I've done some comparisons with Christianity, and it's really simple. Christianity, you go to church, and Islam, you go to the mosque. In Christianity, you have set liturgical services, but you have non-liturgical services as well. Just in Islam, you have the 5 times a day, but you can pray and talk to Allah anytime that you want. Likewise, at mosque, maybe when you're doing a more formal service, when you want it to count more, you go to mosque. Likewise, with Christians, they'll go to church for like Easter, Sundays. But actually, generally, when you're just having conversations, personal conversations with God, Allah, you'll do it at home in a more informal context. Now, you've got an exam question. I want you to have a go at that. Even if it's just like a few lines, you need to get used to the process of doing it. It's all set out. There's some help there. If you do it on a Word document, that'd be fantastic. If you do it in the comments box, not so good, but you know, like at least that's you having a go at it. But please, even if you don't do anything else, have a go at the exam question. Please, in the comments box, ask me questions if you need help. I am here for you and I want to help you. Okay, thank you. Bye.